Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Abundant podcast. I am super excited for this week's conversation because really we're diving into the difference between, like, the key thing that makes the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And there's lots of different factors that we could talk about here, but really, there's one key theme or factor that I see very commonly in the work that I do, and also just like looking around at the world. And this factor makes a big difference when it comes to shifting into living an abundant life. Okay, so you're going to want to listen in to this episode, especially if you feel like no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, no matter what you try, you feel like you just can't get ahead. Especially like nowadays where there's lots of complaints about like the price of things is going up and it's very stressful in the economy, right? When you consider all of that, it's easy to feel very hopeless and feel like, it doesn't matter. No matter what, I'm always going to stay stuck where I am, stuck in this place of not having enough money. But the truth is that wherever you are, you can break free from that. And I'm going to teach you this one important thing that you have to be aware of that's really going to make a big difference for you. Now, to start to tell you about this, I'm going to talk about Costco and I'm going to talk about boots. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, okay, Costco is a bargain, like wholesale store similar to like a Sam's Club or a BJ's, where basically you pay for a membership once a year to be allowed into the Costco. And then you go to Costco and everything in there is bulk wholesale items. And so the price per item is way cheaper than if you were to buy that item at the grocery store. So for example, you can get like a pack of 50 toilet papers for a cheaper amount than if you went to the grocery store and got 10 toilet papers, and it would cost less at the Costco. So this sounds like an awesome deal, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting more. It costs less, but not everybody does this. Not everybody is taking advantage of Costco pricing. Now, why is that? Why, when you could buy something that's cheaper, would you actually buy the more expensive thing? And yet, this happens all the time, is people are unable to or prevent themselves from buying the most affordable option because instead you are stuck buying the cheap thing. Okay. And there's a difference between something that's cheaper versus more affordable. Let me explain this. It's a super simple concept, but it's also really important. It could be potentially mind-blowing, especially if you've never consciously thought about this before. So, cheaper is a side-by-side comparison. Like, for example, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to buy lemonade. I could buy one lemonade for $5. I could buy another lemonade for $3. Which one's cheaper? Obviously, the $3 lemonade is cheaper. But what if the $3 lemonade is 16 ounces? And what if the $5 lemonade is double that? What if it's 32 ounces? Now, even though the $3 lemonade is cheaper than the $5 lemonade, it is not the more affordable option. The bigger one that costs more than the $3 one is more affordable because you're getting more for a lower price. Okay, it's just math. But where people get caught up, and this is the important part, is that we can get really sucked in to buying the cheap things because we, quote, can't afford the more expensive but more affordable things. Okay, which brings me back to Costco. In order to take advantage of the bargain prices, two things have to happen. One is you have to pay for the membership, okay, which is like $60. So for some people, that's like no big deal. For other people, it's like, whoa, $60? Like, and I could spend that on buying actual groceries, not buying a membership for a grocery store. You have to have more money available up front in order to then get the more affordable option in the long run. So that's the first thing. You have to pay for the membership. The second thing is that you have to have more money available to spend on the more affordable option. So again, if we go back to this lemonade example, and your choices are between a $3 lemonade and a $5 lemonade, but if you get the $5 lemonade, you're getting double. But what if you only have $3? You're gonna buy the $3 lemonade. And this is the problem, is that people get stuck buying the cheaper option. But what happens is because you're stuck buying the cheaper option, you are screwing yourself and you are spending more. You are spending more in the long run by buying the cheaper option. Okay? Just like at Costco, like if you were able to buy the membership, if you had more money available to buy a lot more toilet paper, like a bigger, more expensive pack of toilet paper, it would last you longer. So it would be more affordable. You would save money in the long run, but you have to have that initial money available in order to buy it in the first place. Now, I don't really shop at Costco. This is just an example. It's not like a pitch for Costco. I'm not saying like go to Costco. This is just an example. It's the same for I've also heard someone else describe this and I thought it was a good example, so I'll add it in here as well. Imagine you were gonna buy a new pair of shoes and you could buy like a pretty cheap pair of shoes, like, oh sweet, okay, this pair of shoes is like $50. Awesome versus a pair of shoes that's $100. And you're like, of course I'm going to get the $50 shoes. I'm not going to pay $100 for these shoes. But then what would happen if the quality of the $50 shoes was half the quality of the $100 shoes? You're going to wear those shoes, wear them out faster, and then buy more shoes. Versus if you got the $100 pair, and it lasted longer. Maybe it lasts 3 times the length of the cheaper shoes. And so again, even though it's more expensive, it's actually the more affordable option in the long run. But again, the problem is you have to have the $100 available in order to buy the shoes that are going to last longer. Same for farm shares. This is something I actually do and highly recommend is every year I have a farm near me. It's local, it's organic, and they do something called CSAs. It's a community shared agriculture, where basically you buy a share of the produce from the farm that year. And so what it looks like is paying a large amount up front. Like the one that I go to, I spend $775 up front, and then I get 24 weeks of high quality, fresh, local, organic produce. Okay. And it's a lot of produce too, like a lot. It's not just like for one person. That's like 4 people could eat that amount of produce. Okay, so and when you do the math, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's like $32 maybe 35 a week for a lot of produce. Now, if you imagine going to Whole Foods and spending or like getting the same quantity of produce, it would cost $100, if not more, right? It's so much more expensive to buy that same amount of produce at Whole Foods, but I can get it for $32. But again, the challenge and the problem here is that in order to take advantage of this amazing deal, in order to get $32 a week produce, you have to be able to spend the $775 up front. And this is what makes the poor stay poor and the rich get richer, or at least one big important factor. Because if you are unable to save $775 to then buy the CSA, you are unable to take advantage of the super affordable great deal on produce. And what ends up happening is you end up spending way more money getting the cheaper option, which is like $100 for one time, and then $100 every single week for the next 24 weeks. You'll end up spending way more money. Okay, so this is how you shift into a more like financially advantageous way of life is by breaking free from this cycle. Breaking free from choosing the cheap option strategically, right? In order to take advantage of affordability, trust me, and there's affordable options out there. I hear people say all the time, like, I have bills to pay. I can't buy organic produce. I'm like, dude, $32 a week is possible if you can take advantage of it, right? In order to break free from paying more money in the long run, you have to start to shift the way that you spend. And you have to start to, instead of kind of being on this hamster wheel where you're just paying what's right in front of you, like, okay, I only have $50, so I'm gonna buy $50 worth of produce. Sorry, I can't save up. And now, okay, I have another $50. I'm gonna buy the $50 produce. Instead of being on this hamster wheel where it's money in, money out, you have to start to get ahead so that you can take advantage of the more affordable option, which is worth it in the long run because you will save so much more money that you can then put towards other things. In order to take advantage of affordability with your money, you have to get out of scarcity. You have to get out of the mindset and belief that you can't afford the more expensive thing. Because here's the truth. You can afford the expensive thing. I know you can because I also know that you can afford spending way more money because that's what you're currently doing. If you're like buying the cheaper thing that's not the affordable thing. If you keep doing that, you are actually spending so much more money. So, of course, you can afford the more expensive thing because in the long run, it's actually costing you less. It's just a practice of saving. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's a practice of saving and changing it in your mind so that you can focus on affordability versus cheapness and start to recognize that. Start to choose the affordable option as opposed to the cheap option and become the person who is able to pay for it because it will be more money up front. But being able to pay more money up front is going to get you so much further ahead. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. I just told you that I buy a farm share every year. It's $775, okay? And I buy it around February or March. Now, I know that I'm going to buy a farm share every year. I plan for it. I know that this is going to happen. So March doesn't roll around and I'm like, okay, it's going to be a really tight month. I gotta pay for this farm share. It's so expensive. It's $775. Oh, shoot. Now I have like no money this month, but I'm gonna do it. No, that is not my relationship to this farm share. What I do is I plan for it and I set money aside every single month to buy the farm share. I'm not sure. I think it's like $38. Maybe that's not it. I have to look at the numbers. Maybe it's $68. I didn't do the math, but I know whatever the price of the farm share is, I divide it by 12 months, and that's the amount of money that I put into my savings account every single month so that by the time February and March rolls around and the farm share goes up on sale, I say, oh, sweet, awesome. I'm just going to take all this money out of savings and buy the farm share. And also, because I do it this way, not only do I now get to take advantage of the affordable produce option, I also get the early bird discount. Because I'm like, sweet, okay, they have an early bird discount for people who buy in February. I have the money sitting right here. Of course, I'm going to take advantage of that, right? This is the other advantage of being strategic with your money. You get to save more money in the long run. Saving money saves money, right? Okay, I'm going to say that again. Saving money saves money. Because I saved for the farm share, I got the early bird discount and I get the cheap produce for 24 months. Now, this is where people kind of get tripped up with savings because I'm not just saying save for the sake of saving in this scenario. I'm saying save for something specific. Save with the purpose of taking advantage of the money opportunities that are here for you. Save for the sake of getting ahead now so that you can be the person who's always taking advantage of the affordable option. Because really, the sooner that you start, the easier it is. Because if it was March and I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this farm share, and now I need to come up with $775 out of the blue, that's really stressful and hard, and that's why people don't do it. But if I start to put aside $40 a month, I mean, that's really not that much. That's half a trip to the grocery store, really. But you have to be able to plan for it. And again, it comes back to this idea of scarcity. If you're in a scarce-based mindset, you might think, I don't have $40 to set aside each month. But again, if you don't do it, you're going to spend more in the long run. You will definitely spend more in the long run because, again, you're going to be buying more expensive groceries. So even though it feels a little counterintuitive, especially when you're in a place where you do feel scarce, where you do feel like you don't have a lot of money to set aside, it's worth it. You will save so much more money in the long run. And it helps if you have a motivation, if you have a purpose, if you know there is something you are saving for. For example, a farm share. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's okay, I actually do need some new shoes or a new bed frame or like a new mattress or a new car. I don't know what it is, but maybe there's something that typically you would just choose the cheapest option. What would happen if you chose the more expensive but also more affordable option? And also, this is like a disclaimer, not all expensive things are the more affordable option, right? Not all expensive things are the more affordable option. You could buy a $50 pair of shoes that is literally the same exact quality as the $100 pair of shoes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying just buy the expensive thing to buy the expensive thing. I'm saying, like, is this pair of shoes going to last you 3 times longer? than this cheaper pair of shoes? If yes, then it's worth it. Is this lemonade literally double the ounces of the other lemonade? Then if yes, then it's worth it. Okay, this is the math of money. Okay? But if you know that there's something that you're spending more money on than you need to be, which is likely a lot of things. For example, like people say fast food is affordable. I'm like, what are you talking about? Fast food, which I don't know. I haven't like eaten fast food in a long time. I don't know what the prices are. I don't really know the deal anymore, but I hear people say that, and to me it's crazy because yeah, maybe you can get some food at a really cheap price, but it's not like it doesn't fill you up or you like digest it really quickly and then you're hungry an hour later. So it's like, yeah, I bought this cheap $1 burger, but now I'm hungry in an hour and I need to buy more food again so that I don't feel hungry versus buying like something that costs a little more, but then you're full for like 4, 5, 6 hours and I don't need to eat again, right? That's the same thing that I'm talking about here. And so, really, the practice is starting to be the person who can pay more up front. Even if that means it takes you a little while to get there. Even if that means maybe you don't buy the farm share until you've saved up for a whole year and have the intention of buying it next year. And it might mean a little bit of sacrifice now because you're going to be living the way that you're already living, which has been spending money, usually like more money spending money, but now also trying to save and reserve some of that so that you can get ahead and buy the more affordable thing. So it might feel like a bit of a sacrifice for a while, but then once you get on the other side of that, everything changes. And it's so worth it because then you are the person who can put more money down up front, which will then last longer and go way further. And then you'll actually start saving more money where before you were spending that money. So in the long run, it's really not that much of a sacrifice. It's actually incredibly beneficial. And it's how you're able to pull it off. It's how you're able to have all the things you want, like healthy organic produce that's locally grown, without spending tons of money. And there are lots of things like this. In fact, I find this to be the case all the time, is often the things that we really want can be the more affordable options. Surprisingly, you wouldn't think that that's the case, but it really, really is. And this is why, like in Empowered Abundance, I teach my clients how to have a blueprint to track and manage and be strategic with their money. It makes saving like this so much easier because then you're seeing where your money's being spent, where it's leaking through the cracks, where you have holes in your boat, where you can actually salvage some of that money, and how much you actually have available to set aside financially so that you can save more easily. That's really the difference. If you can't see clearly what's happening with your money, it's harder to save, even for like, even when you're just putting aside a little bit from time to time. So, something that's going to make this easier for you is actually seeing your money, tracking your money, managing your money, like I teach my clients in Empowered Abundance. This is something you can start to do for yourself, um, which it's a practice if you don't do it of building the habit of maintaining this. If you want a tool for starting this and you're not ready to like commit to the full Empowered Abundance program, we just started a group right now, so enrollment's closed. I'm still having consults available, but if you want a tool to get started now on your own, I actually have a money tracker called Money Management Made Easy. It's like a mini course and a tool for tracking your money. It's like a pared down version of what I teach my clients in Empowered Abundance so that you can see where your money's going. And that's going to make it a lot easier easier for you to get ahead and say, okay, where can I save a little bit of money? Where can I spend less here so that I can spend more on the more affordable thing and therefore spend less money in the long run? So if you want to check that out, I'll put the link in the show notes. That's going to help you go a lot further in this game of getting ahead. It's not just enough to say, okay, I'm not going to buy the things that I usually buy because that's habitual. And often our money is something that happens subconsciously that we're unaware of. We don't really see how we're spending. A few days pass and then we forget about it. We don't really know what's going on with our money unless we're tracking it. And we also have no idea how much we actually have available to save, to to put aside for getting ahead. And so really seeing your money clearly on paper is going to show you, oh, okay, exactly. This is where that extra $50 a month is going to come from. No problem. Or, oh, okay, I only have $10 extra to put into savings, but I know I can do it and I'm going to do it. And I know I can make that happen. So check out Money Management Made Easy, but really just know that there's a difference between the expensive thing or sorry, the cheap thing and the affordable thing. These are different. And if you want to get ahead, you have to, one, get out of the scarcity of only buying the cheap thing and start to see what is truly more affordable and become the person who can pay for the affordable thing. And the more that you do that, the easier it's going to become to keep doing that. So then instead of spending way more money buying the cheap thing, being the poor who gets poorer, you can be one of the wealthy that gets wealthier because you're taking advantage of the financial opportunities that are here for you. And it is totally possible for you to do this starting right now with the money that you have. It doesn't matter if you're barely scraping by, if you have decent amount of money, but it seems like it's getting spent, wherever you are on the spectrum of financial realities here, you can make this happen because again, it just comes down to saving a little bit each month for the sake of having more money to pay up front for something that's worth it. I've done it, I've seen my clients do it, and I know that you can do it too. Okay, so that's what I have for you this week on the Empowered Abundance podcast. I'll see you next week. Happy Money Monday.